So hi guys, it's Tamara coming back at you with another video. We're going to talk a little bit today about borderline personality disorder and its connection to trauma. One of the reasons why I've decided to talk about this is I had someone from my website, anchoredinKnowledge.com, send me an email. And one of the things that she asked is that I would share her name and then also her question. So her name is Stephanie, and she asked me to talk a little bit about borderline personality disorder. Her question was, how do I know how to react to someone who has borderline personality disorder? And it was a twofold question. And what causes borderline personality disorder? Is it trauma? And so because I've been spending a lot of time talking about trauma over the past few days, I should say, I decided to go ahead and talk about this and then do a video about it as well. It's a topic that I continue to get emails and voicemails about from all over the world, from people wondering, how do I deal with this person who's borderline personality and what causes it? So the benefits for you today in this video is that you're going to get a chance to learn some new things and maybe feel motivated and stimulated to learn more. You might also find validation and justification for the way that you've been handling somebody that you know. So let's go ahead and just jump right on in and get started. I want to bring up a few things that I've noticed in individuals with borderline personality disorder. And one of the things that I've noticed with an individual who has borderline personality disorder is that whether they realize it or not, they're often very skilled at keeping everybody perplexed about who they really are, right? They have this shield up and this defense and this wall and this divider between you and them. And so they have the ability to come across as sensitive and emotional and vulnerable and caring, and yet at the same time, you don't sense that from them, right? Some of their interactions can come across as ingenuine or just kind of plastic and shallow and false and unauthentic. I've had many clients come to me to be treated for borderline personality disorder, and one of the things I tell them is, okay, number one, I don't treat personality disorders at the level that you would need treatment. The other thing I tell them is, how will I know that you're serious about working on your issues? I've counseled a lot of teenagers with borderline personality disorder, and one of the things I've noticed is emotions are rapid, right? They're changing. They're like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. So this person may say they want to do something. They may in their heart even want to do it, but they don't follow through. And part of the problem is because they can't regulate their thoughts most of the time. They can't regulate their heart most of the time, or their emotions. So, and of course I'm not referring to all individuals with borderline personality disorder, but I'm referring to those select few that struggle with this disorder. So I think that's something to keep in mind. The next thing I want you guys to think about when you're dealing with someone with borderline personality disorder is that they kind of get their charge off of you, right? So your reactions and your responses and your way of dealing with things in relation to them gives them meat. Okay, not every individual with borderline personality disorder is manipulative or angry or hateful or just kind of looking to create an argument or a confrontation or triangulate. Okay, and I'm going to put the definition of triangulate right over here because I've done a lot of articles and some videos on what it is. But I think when it comes to an individual who has borderline personality disorder, it's important to keep in mind that your reactions are most likely going to dictate how that person reacts. They don't have control over their emotions. They don't have control over their mind. You do. And so because of that, your reactions are going to dictate most of the time how that encounter is going to be. Okay, one of the traps that I often find my clients in when it comes to dealing with someone with a BPD or borderline personality disorder is that they either go from one extreme. Okay, one extreme is to overly react out of anger and just resentment and surprise and shock and broken trust. The other spectrum is, I'm not going to give you any reaction at all. Can you imagine what that does to an individual with borderline personality disorder who has low self-esteem, who has no identity, who has a shattered sense of self, and who also has no iota of a clue as to how to control their emotions and how to process them and how to see their life and see other people in their life? Can you imagine what that does to them when you go from one extreme to the other? One extreme is, I'm angry, I'm going to react angrily, I'm going to tell you that I don't like you, I'm going to tell you that I don't like this, to all the way over here to where you're absolutely giving them no input. You're shut down, you're completely numb, you're closed off, there's a wall up, right? Those reactions, right? Either reaction is bad because an individual with borderline personality disorder typically anticipates rejection. They anticipate abandonment. They anticipate you disliking them. Somewhere deep down in their psyche, they know that their emotional and cognitive reactions to things are way over the line. They're inappropriate, right? They push other people away. So when you react from either one of those sides of the spectrum, the reaction from somebody with borderline personality disorder is going to be severe. And that's why sometimes when you calm down and you try not to react, it still ends in chaos because they're not used to you doing either or extremes, snapping with them or totally, completely ignoring them, right? So I suggest this. I suggest that when you're dealing with somebody like this who has no idea how to control their emotions, they can't accept your new position in their life as somebody who's saying, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I suggest this. I suggest that you react to them based on the premise that you want nothing but a calm, peaceful end to whatever interaction you're going to have with them. Once you make that constitution, I believe that the person with BPD can accept that and can change. I encourage you to operate in the gray. Don't operate on the complete black side. Don't operate on the complete white side, right? Black and white view of things. Don't operate on those ends because those are two extremes. Try to be gray. Try to be in the middle of that spectrum because I think that's where they can handle your boundaries a whole lot better. So then, okay, so this is how people with borderline personality behave, right? Let me just go down really quickly too, because this is something Stephanie had asked me in the email as well. What are the signs and symptoms that someone has borderline personality disorder? So let me just run through that really quickly. Someone who has borderline personality disorder, I characterize 4 to 5 different traits that I look for before I diagnose BPD or before I refer to a doctor who can further diagnose BPD. So 4 to 5 things I look for. 1, I look for impulse control. Yeah, there's ADHD. Yeah, there's bipolar. How do we know that impulses have anything to do with borderline personality, right? Couldn't it be bipolar? Couldn't it be ADHD? Yes, but right now, what we're doing is we're just looking for impulsivity that's reckless, okay? We're looking for impulsivity that is destructive. We're looking for impulsivity that is in addition to a constellation of symptoms, right? So I look for impulsivity, recklessness in relationships, recklessness with emotions, recklessness with substance abuse, totally abusing power, totally abusing others' emotions, not caring about the outcome, doing things based on emotion and desire, right? Those are all impulses that I'm looking for. The next thing is self-harm and suicidal ideation. I'm looking for a history of self-injurious behaviors, cutting, burning, scratching, biting, pinching, whatever you need to do to hurt your skin, hurt yourself. I'm also looking for suicidal statements, a long history of suicidal thoughts, suicidal statements, suicidal behaviors, suicidal gestures, right? Attempts. I'm also looking for hospitalizations. How many hospitalizations have you had? And if you had 1 over a 5-year span, okay, that's fine. If you've had 2 over a 6-year or 5-year span, fine. If you had several over 2 years, then that shows me the depth of what the problem is, okay? The other part of this is I'm also looking for dysphoria and depression. So I'm looking for this low-grade depression that's under the surface, and it seeps under the surface, and it continues to seep until somebody can figure out that you are depressed or that the person is depressed. So I'm looking for that. And the final thing that I'm looking for is self-defeating thoughts and self-defeating behaviors. So I'm looking for someone who feels they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not handsome enough, right? So that's in there a lot of the time, and that's what I'm looking for. Those are the things that I want to see when I'm working with someone who has borderline personality disorder. So stay tuned, because we're going to finish this discussion. I want to bring in the topic of trauma and talk a little bit more about the correlation between BPD and trauma. So stay tight, and I'll be right back.